The Shepherd and the Shrink podcast is brought to you by Red Brick Kitchen and Bar, downtown Main Street, Dexter, Michigan.
Welcome today. My name is Dr. Matt Hook, and I am the Shepherd.
And I'm Dr. Marty Fletcher, and I am the Shrink. If you're missing it, you're not reading it and you're not reflecting on it, because 1 Timothy 1:5, like I've read this a million times and it just popped out to me this week.
Wait, a million?
Like what's one less than a million?
Okay.
Like 999,999 times.
Got
okay,
it.
Okay. Paul wrote that letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the goal. See, the goal, I'm not reading like the goal is to be super nice, so then after you leave here, you can go to heaven. We are bringing the kingdom down here. There's a goal. Every morning we can get up and practice this. The goal of our instruction is love from a pure heart and a good conscience and a sincere faith. If you're not doing that, how are you practicing Christianity? I don't get it. It's beyond me. How is it that you're practicing Christianity? What are you practicing?
Right.
Self-righteousness?
Something not of God.
Something not of God. So here's the way I'm reading it. It's not a bunch of words to say. Oh, I accept you, Lord Jesus, and I mean, it's a good thing to say, but that's not the whole of it.
I go to church.
Love.
I'm a spiritual person.
Love unexpressed is not love. It has to manifest in the world, or it's not. It's just a desire to love. So,
I think a lot of us men really struggle with that. I love my wife. I love my kids. I told them once they should know it.
Yep. I'm doing this because I love you.
Yeah.
Not in that
I'm
moment.
providing for you. But my new prayer has been, Lord, help me love my wife in a way that she will experience it as love. Because I love her. Of course I love her. We settled that.
But if it's not expressed, like, look, my wish to run is not running. Okay? It's a wish to run.
Think of how many people watch exercise clips and feel better for it or gain a little knowledge, but they never put it into practice.
Like eating Taco Bell and watching this exercise video.
I love Taco Bell. Don't knock Taco Bell.
Okay, that's nothing against that. But
except they got rid of their big burritos that I like.
But you'll survive that.
I think so.
What I'm talking about is this. Christ was here's what I liked about it, because I was a mess, right? And I was not happy. I was suffering. I was angry all the time. All those things that the Bible can be, or the way can be a remedy for. But what stuck out for me is like, it's not just saying words. You actually, it's a new way of being and a new way of living. So it's not that
you literally reorient your life.
Right, exactly. You reorient your life. Everything looks different. You're doing different things. But I said it was a relief. I get to do something. It's not that I have to do something.
Right.
No, now I know, because I was way off.
That's awesome.
I get to actually do this, and I get to keep trying to get better at it and better at it. And I'm getting better at it. There's always regression built in, but where you're not doing so great. But I'm learning how to get back on the path when I stray, right? Because I'm like a sheep too, I'll get off before I know it, and I'll feel it first.
Well, one of the best ways I heard, and it was an elderly lady whose husband was a great preacher, but she was in her own right, Mildred Thomas, and she said, "Here's our problem. We get so far from God because the Bible talks a lot about us as sheep." And what do sheep do? We nibble ourselves lost.
Yes.
So I'm eating my grass as a sheep does. And I look up and there's good grass 5 feet away. So I go over there and I nibble. And then I go another 5 feet and another 5 feet. And by the time I pick my head up and look around, there is no shepherd in sight, because I have nibbled myself lost.
Right. And you know what the corrective is for that? I believe, and that's the purpose of the podcast and all these other things that we're going to do, what I believe, the disciplines.
Yeah.
We have to have the disciplines. We can't just go to church on Sunday for a reset and then just be of the world the rest of the time, or it will not work. We have to, and we're going to talk about the different ones. We've already started talking about some of the forgiveness as a discipline, walking in the Spirit, and all that kind of stuff. Would you mind taking us through the Beatitudes?
The Beatitudes.
Yeah, could you do that?
Sure.
Because I think that's the whole of this stuff, really. And just kind of crystallize this a little bit. My view currently, and my understanding is this: the whole of the law is included in agape, is contained. The whole of the law is, because if you have agape, guess what? You don't have any problems with your behaviors. You can't look at pornography, for example, because you'll see it as filmed prostitution with two very broken people, and you'll have a heart for those people. And you'll think, what happened? They're better than this, and whatever happened must have been horrible, and you won't condemn them. You will have a soft heart, and you'll have compassion and the wish that they aren't like that much longer, okay? All of your habits will start to fall away because that will be there, and you won't want to let go of that. When you have that feeling of agape, just that supernatural love for another human being, your physiology calms down. You sleep better.
Well, one of the things that I think you're talking about is love. We think love is a strong version of like. And it's not.
About that. It's super like.
That's what we think. I like you, I like you, I love you.
But
I like this, I like this. I really love this.
And here's the problem with that. It's me focused.
Yeah.
Oh, I love ice cream. I get more ice cream. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's me focused.
Which is lust.
Yeah, it is.
It's the self-gratification of what we perceive as love. Love is not the agape form of love. And yes, love does include emotions. But in these passages where we're talking about agape, love is not an emotion.
Right.
Solely.
Not only.
It is an action.
So, like, put a pin in that, because I do want to come back to that, because people need to know that aspect of it. I think
we can break that down in an
But I want to do this, though, because this is so good.
Yeah.
And it's so, look, the kingdom is upside down. The kingdom's it's upside down.
Jesus said the last shall be first. He said the more you give away, the more you will receive. It's spiritual truths that don't necessarily line up with what our physical or world truths.
True, and I like the word that you're using, because I think it's truth. I don't get to have my truth. There is the truth, and it's hard to get to in our natural state and what the world tells us.
Right.
So anyway.
Right. So the Beatitudes are found in Matthew chapter 5. And the Beatitudes are the beginning of what has been famously called the Sermon on the Mount. And it says this: when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside. Interestingly, it says he sat down. The disciples came to him, and he began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God." The poor in spirit. Blessed.
Can you say that? No one seems to know what that is. I had to study it over and over.
Yeah.
What is the poor in spirit, and why would they be? And also, there's another translation of blessed that David Bentley Hart did. He's a scholar, well-respected scholar. And he translated that, it's a little bit controversial with some people, as blissful.
Blissful.
Right, because that word blessed is nuanced. And, and see, blissful, I think the reason he did is because you'll have this experience. It won't be something that's just given to you like an object. You know, here's a blessing for you. You know, you'll get it later on. No, you get it in the moment.
Yeah.
When you're poor in spirit, you get it in the moment. It's okay.
And poor in spirit, I think, means I am aware of how poor I am in and of myself. And that's not me beating myself up. It's me simply realizing my intense and great and grave need for God.
Yeah, I'm separate from you. That was the experience
I'm
for
not
me.
God.
And I did get it because it's a complete surrender of the Marty plan, no more.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
No more of that. It's nothing but suffering. And so I am poor in spirit. When I come just bare and open and innocently to Christ, then that's when it can enter us.
Interestingly, I had an 85-year-old guy in our church who was pretty famous in his career and in the Detroit area. And he said, I have never been as happy, even though his health was not great. He had lost his wife. He said, about 3 years ago, I said, Lord, I'm done running my life. I want you to run it from now on.
Yes, and he was really done with it. And what happened?
He said, I have never been so happy or peaceful in my life. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, who weep, for they will be comforted.
Can we talk about that a little bit too?
Sure.
People are afraid to do that. Sadness is a gentle emotion if we allow it. If we let it complete itself, and how do we know that? Sad movies. There are people who actually pay. They buy the ticket and eat popcorn just to feel that feeling. So in and of itself, you wouldn't do that with, shame.
It's really true.
Right. Or like sad songs, or how about nostalgia? Now, nostalgia is a low level of sadness, but as long as we don't fight that, then what happens is we will release painkillers.
Yeah.
And enkephalin is one of these natural opioids, because that's why when a little kid, let's say when your kids were little, you'd say, no, you can't eat the cake first. And then it just despondent, just heartbroken, and then cries. And as long as you let the child do that and you don't tell it to, smack it or tell it to shut up,
Right.
you let it do that stuff, and then now it's done with it. And then you set it down, what happens? It doesn't want the cake anymore.
There's
It
a new
moves
level
on.
of
It has felt
understanding.
that deeply and accepted it. And with accepting the new reality, they can move on. There's so much grief and heartbreak that people don't know how to experience, that they fight with drugs or other things, or anger and bitterness. If they would just allow that thing to feel, they would receive that blessing.
Yeah. I think it's partly why I like blues music and old torch
Yeah.
songs. I'm an old jazz guy.
Right.
And they are sad. Some of those are
They
the most
are, but it's a
gut-wrenching.
hypo experience. See, the threat emotions are hyper. I gotta fight or run. Sad is a gentle down, go eat some Ben and Jerry's and just slow down a little bit and just feel the new reality, okay? As if we don't fight it.
For a time, that's really healthy. For a time. Jesus himself went away to lonely places.
And wept.
For a time.
And he wept too. And I think that was included for that reason, to say, guys, do this, do as I do.
It's funny though, I think about mourning, kind of like I think about throwing up. No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to.
Yeah, right,
no,
right.
I don't want to. No, I don't want to. And then I go there, and it's what I need.
Relief.
Relief.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And it's okay if you're with somebody who is mourning.
That was such a beautiful image of you just like
Barking.
pulling up on that bowl. It's so...
Yeah. It's been a while for
Yes.
that. But the idea that if you are with somebody who is in a time of mourning, or you don't know what to say to somebody who is grieving, maybe the loss of their folks or a spouse or whatever, just to go and be there.
Yes.
I lost my best friend from he was my best friend from 6th through 11th grade, and he died. And we hadn't seen each other in a long time, but all of those memories, he knew me better than anybody else, I think, in junior high. And I didn't want anybody to cheer me up.
Right on. What you wanted was this, I think, because sad is an attachment emotion. Okay, sad's an attachment emotion. The anger and fear are not attachment emotions. They're
Right,
get
get
away,
away.
or I'm getting away, right? But what you want is someone who just put their hand on your shoulder and just feel it with you.
Yeah.
Not bring you out of it, but feel with. And that's what compassion is. So if we see, I like, the kid at the lunch table by himself, and we feel that feeling, that's saying go to him or her. Right?
And you don't have to say anything.
Right.
In pastoral counseling, they talk about the ministry of presence. In other words, just being present with somebody and not trying to fill the silence and not trying to say all that.
Gotcha.
The third one, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
So we got to be wimps now.
The word meekness, this is kind of a cool Greek study in the New Testament was written in Greek. The word for meek means bridled strength. Like a horse that is meek is a strong horse that understands when a bridle is on, how to respond.
Rhymes with weak, but doesn't mean weak.
No.
Right? Because I'll tell you what I like in terms of strength and masculine strength is meekness. So, like Outlaw Josie Wales, he's got a cigar or whatever. Somebody's shooting on his feet and he doesn't even move because he knows what he's going to do. Throws down the cigarette and then goes in. That's what that controlled. The last 2 times I had to back down a aggressive male, all I did was just stay calm and look at him. And then what happens, they get self-conscious. And then they go, oh, and then it snaps them out of the trance. But if I were to take that bait and do it, then it's just going to escalate. Right?
Meekness, for me, the best mental image I have is imagine somebody trying to bench press 250 pounds. The strong person can do it smoothly and gently. It's the weaker person that doesn't look meek. They're not able to do it gently because they're weaker.
Or do like a 2-inch rep.
So
I did 10 of
meekness,
these.
that's right. I got it. Yeah. So meekness is really bridled strength.
Right on.
The third one, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness.
Who does that?
For they will be filled.
Who does that? That's what we're supposed to do, right?
I
You're
think
supposed to say, what is right? I don't know the way myself. It's outside of me. It's in the scriptures. It's in prayer. You have to want that.
I think a lot of people who post stuff online think that they are hungering and thirsting for righteousness.
No. Actually, they think they are, but what they're doing is they're saying, "I know the way," and if it violates what Christ said in terms of agape. If it violates agape, you don't know the way, because that is the truth, right? So there's a nice test that we can all use on ourselves.
Yeah.
Am I doing this in love, or is there something else there?
Right. What's my motivation
Yeah.
in some ways? And righteousness means spiritual hunger. I want to know God. I want to know His will for my life more than anything. I'm more excited about His will. I'm hungering and thirsting for the righteousness rather than acceptance of my peers, my career,
Christ did
success.
that. Christ did that in the
It's
garden,
God's
didn't he?
perspective.
He says, here, I'm going to ask you for something, but I want your will to be done. You know better than me. Christ did that. Isn't that odd?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
For they will be filled, it says. And then verse 7 says, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy.
This is true, though, too. This isn't just wordplay.
Well, how does that apply with psychology in what you
Well, forgiveness is a
study?
big topic right now, and so is compassion.
Which was our last session.
Yeah, and self-compassion. So one way it does is this. I have to have integrity. Integrity means it's whole. That means that if I'm going to be compassionate, and I want to be a compassionate person, in order for it to be complete, I have to apply it to myself. So if you're merciful, you will show that mercy, and it will be in yourself too. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's one thing. I can't just be merciful to you and at the same time not measure that out to myself, or I have no integrity. It's incomplete.
And it doesn't say, blessed are those who are merciful for the people they already like.
No, it doesn't. No, that's easy, right? Even the pagans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yes.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. To be completely open, to be completely honest with God, pure in my interactions, you know, which sometimes means coming up. I heard the Christian life described this way: taking what you know of yourself and giving it to what you know of God.
Say
And
that
then
again? Wait, hold on. Say that
The
again.
Christian life, the Christian walk is
That-
taking what you know of yourself and giving it to what you know of God.
What's that mean?
As you learn more about God and who He is, you give yourself to Him. As you learn more about yourself, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this was a part of my nature.
Yes.
I need to hand this over to God and say,
Yes.
God, you bring healing. I'm putting this in your hands. I'm not
Yes.
controlling this part of myself anymore. I want you
Yeah.
to take control of that.
Very good.
Next one. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
Where are the peacemakers now? I'm not seeing it. How do you make peace? Not the way I'm seeing it right now. I'm seeing belligerence.
Right. And it doesn't say, blessed are the peacekeepers. It says, blessed are the peacemakers, which means you're not running away all the time from conflict, but you're coming and being a presence for peace.
No, my point,
in the
look, that's
midst of
really good, because my point is this. It's not that I'm saying be, detached and not do anything in the world, because we're supposed to be bringing the kingdom down here. I'm just saying this, don't make it worse. You're making it worse. You already got a person who's already feeling scared or enraged, and what are you doing? You're poking them with a stick. And what does that do? It doesn't help, and it's not even neutral. Here's what it does. This polarization, here's what happens. Each time a side offends the other side, all it does is strengthen the resolve to make you my enemy. I don't know how we're not seeing that right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's peacemaking. It also means, I think, keeping lines of communication open in order for us to stay as a peacemaker between me and between the people around me, how I deal with my anger, how I deal with my disagreements, how I don't let them fester. I got defensive in our staff meeting when somebody asked me a question. And it was cool because I wanted to talk about it with other people, but realized I need to just go up and talk to that person and say, what were you trying to get at when you said that? So
What happened though? What was the outcome? Not the details, but what was the outcome?
We had a great conversation.
That's how it is. What would have happened if you would have met them with a rebuke?
Oh gosh.
Or a condemnation? That could not have happened.
I got an email from somebody who said, I don't think I am agreeing with your leadership that's going on right here. And they started by emailing me this: it's none of my business, but, and then wrote me this much of an email. And what I wanted to say in my initial response was, my email back to them was going to be, you're right, it's none of your business.
Right.
That went through my mind.
Yep.
But I didn't, and I took time to parcel out what they had said and responded. And then I got an email back saying, thank you, I don't agree with everything, but I sure am grateful for your leadership.
Love never fails. That's what that is. That's demonstrating the path right there.
Yeah.
And it also demonstrates this. It wasn't your nature to do that. That wasn't your nature to do that.
Right,
It was outside
right.
of you, right? And you had to bring it. You had to
Yeah,
follow
my
it.
first nature was,
Yes.
you're right, it's none of your business.
Yeah. Okay.
The last one. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Okay, I like that a lot because it gives me peace to know that I signed up for it at least. You know, because some people, like I've been attacked just because of my faith. Not a lot, you know, it's not like I'm, you know, a target or anything, but it's happened. And because what happens is there's a lot of prejudice about us, and some of it is deserved. You have to, no, really,
More
a good lot of it.
sometimes.
Nothing has hurt the faith more than professing Christians.
Right.
Out there offending people, judging people, and going against it in the name of Christ
Right.
and Christianity.
We can be the best thing and we could be the worst thing.
Exactly, but no atheist could ever do any or agnostic could do the damage that somebody who is just really, maybe they're well-intentioned, I don't know, or they think they're well-intentioned, but just, you know, being a know-it-all, being judgmental, because I've seen the damage that it's done to people, and me too.
Or being wishy-washy and just going with the flow on everything.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
That,
now that I think
that
about-
doesn't necessarily
but
put us in the place of persecution, which I think is maybe the problem.
The reason that the major reason I was disinterested in this for so many decades is because of I didn't have a good example in my mind. I only had one good example in my mind, and that wasn't enough. Of somebody that was showing me peace, strength, all of those things, you know,
Patience,
kindness, all they showed me agape. That was it, just one.
Wow.
You know.
One's all it takes.
No, not for me. It wasn't. I need to see more. That was the exception, not the rule. I need to see the rule.
Oh, man.
So why am I
There
saying
that
that?
goes.
It's like that may sound judgy. It's not. It's me thinking about myself and saying, am I doing a good enough job, and where am I not doing a good enough job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And you know, it kind of means being willing to take the heat. You know,
you
I mean,
signed
throughout
up for it. Is the way I
history,
look at it. Yep.
people have died
Yeah.
for their faith.
Yeah,
It's still happening today.
But that's when you remember that love never fails. Meet it with kindness and that same heart. Don't go their way.
Right. You know, a level of faith that it takes to believe this and to live this, I think, hit me hard, and I was able to verbalize it in this way. God is God over my life. God is God after I die. And so sometimes the way God's going to heal me if I need healing, if I'm that broken, someday it's going to be to call me home.
Yes.
Where I'm going to be fully healed.
Yeah, you can't lose.
Right, right. Okay. Then Jesus wraps up this part where he says, blessed are you when people insult you, you're blessed. Persecute you, falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. I think that's key, because of me.
Yes.
There's plenty of things that we do that people say all that stuff against us.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean we're blessed, but if we're
Yes.
doing it because of the Jesus way, because of what we're trying to do for him.
Agape.
Yeah. And then he says, rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Those are the Beatitudes, the be attitudes. I think there's a flow to them too.
Say.
If I'm aware of how poor I am in spirit, it brings me to a time of mourning. Which I know is a big part of your moment of, or your dark night of the soul that led to this whole new life for you.
Yes.
You said you were just weeping.
Yes, and it was a spiritual transformation. So what happened is, first it was that feeling that I described in the other podcast of like, wow, I'm so humbled and I was really bad, but it was still a feeling of acceptance. There was like months of just pain that had to come out for me. And so where that went was eventually there were tears, but they were with smiles of relief and joy, and I never felt that before. There were a bunch of things that I was closed down to that I didn't feel, but that's what it was. It was like there was a beauty in it, and I would like have tears, but I would be smiling when I had them. It's the oddest thing, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So the poor in spirit, knowing our need, mourning over the need, that the result of that. Blessed are the meek, that I am bridled strength enough to receive, that I'm strong enough to receive, that I'm not complete in and of myself. And then that turns you to want to hunger and thirst for God's way, this righteousness, which I know gets confused with self-righteousness. There's another podcast for us.
Well, the self isn't a part of it. We're aiming at the higher things, and that's not us.
Right.
Yes.
And then we turn in a merciful way to the pure in heart, to the being proactive peacemakers, which can lead sometimes to the persecution. And in all of that is this rejoice and be glad, because great.
So I'm thinking, though, that people are afraid to do that because they think that they're going to lose. This is the way to change the world. This has changed the world already.
Yeah.
It will transform it. I'm thinking of MLK, right?
From the inside out.
Yeah, you meet this is how you change the world. This is how you transform it, and it's against your nature. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are afraid to do that because you'll let them win. No.
Yeah.
They're winning when you take on their hatred and their anger and their tactics. They just won. They got you. You're on that side now.
Right. Yeah, in our response.
Yes.
You know, that's one of the things that's powerful about what Jesus did. He let people insult him. He let people shame him, mock him. It's pretty unique among world leaders and religious world leaders.
And his focus was on them.
Yeah.
His focus was on them. Like, he felt bad that they didn't know what he knew.
He was willing to go all that way.
Yeah.
To show this agape, which is love in action.
Yes. Yeah, in action, exactly. So let's because we're probably going long here, but let's talk a little bit about the what does it feel like? Because we have to know what it feels like to know if we're hitting it. So in psychology, if we want to look at love, there's a model that I use that has lots of a good literature base around it. I'm confident in it, and it's this: two emotions come together. This is the emotional side of love, right? That you'll feel. Two emotions come together. And let's just go in the middle, because it varies in intensity. Low levels, which allows us to love our enemies, to high levels, which is adoration, right? And in the middle, it's a feeling in the body of trust. Now, what happens to our bodies when we're in a trusting environment? What happens to our bodies?
We become more at peace.
We become more at peace, right?
We become open.
Right.
If we're trusting in something beyond ourselves.
Yes.
So that there's more integration between me and my situation, me and the good things in my life, me and an awareness of the not good things in my life.
Very good. So, and then joy comes with it too. So joy. So the highest level of trust is adoration. That's super trust. Like, oh man, so good. You know,
laying
just
out
yeah, exactly. That with bliss. And you can have that sometimes, but that's not our normal way. Those are peaks. Those are peak experiences. Trust and joy. And then I think the lowest level, because when I have to love my enemy, and I don't have enemies, but you know what I mean, someone that, you understand. The least amount that I think that I can detect so I can still have that would be, I can keep my serenity, I can keep my peace, and I can still accept them. I may not trust them, like with the keys to my car or whatever, but I can accept that they are a fallen, broken person and that they are in the image of God, and I don't have to condemn them. I can do everything I need to do with that.
Wow.
Right? I don't need to hate anybody to know that there's wrong being done. They don't need my hate. They don't need my anger. They don't need my condemnation. Now, if we want to contrast that with hate is when anger mixes with disgust. When anger mixes with disgust, you have contempt, and that's hatred. When do I need that applied to another human being? When do I need disgust and anger? Sure, sometimes. But I have to be careful with that so it doesn't become that. But the disgust and anger I'm seeing towards our, not just that, but pop stars even, that would, like what we saw at the Super Bowl. Like, am I going to meet that with, I don't like it.
Right.
I think it's degrading for them. I think about them. I think they're lost in some ways. But I don't have to show them disgust as a human being and anger.
Yeah.
That's contempt. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and it's so easy in cyberspace to hang on to contempt.
Here's what I think.
But we get addicted
We're
to
looking in the wrong direction. Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi would correct their tactics tomorrow if they thought that it would be effective. They are bringing out a nature that is inside of us. They're pragmatists. They do it because it's inside, yet we're looking at them and not at ourselves.
Right.
What if we met them with agape?
What if we dug into what we're talking about here? What if everybody that may be listening to this dug into and used it as meditative literature, used agape as a verb to practice throughout a day as much as we did following the clickbait.
And ask God
the
to search their
online
heart. Like, was that Psalm 119? Is that the one that's like, ask God to search your heart.
me
Don't
and
you
know
do
me.
it. You're not capable. I wasn't qualified. Ask God to, and test it against what you're reading there. And how about this for homework too? That's awesome homework. That's enough homework. You can do that for the rest of your
Matthew
life.
5, 1 Corinthians 13, and actually it's Psalm 139.
139, thank you. What's 119? I'll have to look that up because
That's the longest chapter in the Bible.
What is?
Psalm 119.
Oh, okay, maybe that's one.
It's
I
advanced
don't know.
Hebrew poetry.
You're the shepherd. I'm the shrink. I don't know
Right.
this stuff. And how about this too? Find that person that you have contempt for, and find it in you to soften your heart for them. Doesn't mean
Great
adore them.
action.
Doesn't mean to adore them. It doesn't mean to accept their behavior and approve of it.
And it doesn't mean to obsess about them.
Exactly, but see if you can soften your heart to them, and if not, find out why. And if you have to pray like I had to forgive people or to get that, do.
And it's like Corrie ten Boom, who was a woman in a concentration camp, said years later to one of the guards in the concentration camp, she said something like this: "I can't forgive you, but he can."
Right, but that doesn't mean that she
And
walked
my
away
trust
with
is
hatred in her heart either.
No.
She said she needed his help to do that. It's the love of God that she needed, because it's, you understand? Like,
Yeah,
so I've had
and if
people
God
read
can
that
forgive
differently.
you, why would I hold
to say
on
like,
to that?
Yes, yeah. Okay, so you want
Good
to
stuff.
pray us out?
Yeah, Lord,
Okay.
I thank you so much for this time. I thank you, God, that we do not have to be spewing, that we do not have to be clicking, that we do not have to be, Lord, so obsessed. But Lord, that we can worship you, that we could realize our great need for you, that we could realize that you have patience and kindness toward us, that you do not remember wrongs suffered against you from us.
Yes.
And Lord, we simply would want to reflect that in the lives of those around us and in our own lives. And I thank you so much for this conversation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
The